Thanks so much for joining us for this look at the best original reporting from KPBS News this week. I'm Matt Hoffman. Coming up, what will it take to reduce deaths inside of local jails? Families of victims and those who have experienced trauma behind bars make yet another desperate plea. San Diego is moving forward with plans to recycle its food waste. We'll show you how it works and how it's a big piece of our climate goals. And the Padres land their biggest superstar yet. Juan Soto arrives in San Diego, injecting a new level of excitement in the gas lamp. But first, we start with a much more serious situation for another San Diego sports team. Aztec football players are among those accused of raping a 17-year-old girl last fall. Police have now sent their investigation over to the district attorney's office. This as the victim is now telling her story to KPBS reporter Alexander Wynn.
With everything going on right now, oh my gosh, I'm so sweaty.
The woman, whom we are not identifying, was nervous when she sat down to describe the horrific night she went through last October. It happened here, off campus. She says she went to a Halloween party at this house.
Someone had posted it that we were friends with, so we decided to go check it out. We walked into the back, and there was a lot of people. My friends ended up getting separated from me, and some guy came up to me, handed me a drink, we were talking.
That was when she was taken to a room in the house. She says several guys were already there.
They threw me down onto the bed, face down, and they took turns assaulting me from behind, other things in the mix, and I was bleeding everywhere.
She says her piercings were ripped out. The assault happened when she was 17 and left her with bruises all over her body, including her neck and legs. Her attorney shared these photos with us.
It was really aggressive. It was aggressive. It was really scary.
Yesterday, SDSU announced it had started its Title IX investigation into the assault. The university said it was asked repeatedly not to start its own investigation because it could interfere with the police investigation. Unlike a criminal investigation, the Title IX investigation only looks at whether campus policy was violated. The maximum penalty is expulsion. The now 18-year-old thinks the university may have other motives for delaying the investigation.
It feels like since that football team was doing so well, since they're so well known, that maybe it could be the fact that they're good players, trying to brush it under the rug.
She says there was a lot of evidence that the school could have done something to protect their students.
Kind of scared me just because I do know how many girls go to these parties and make the decisions that I unfortunately made that night. It scares me for the other women and all of the other students altogether that had no idea. I think SDSU waited too long.
Police say the investigation is ongoing. So far, no one has been charged. Alexander Wynn, KPBS News.
Now to what's becoming a familiar scene outside of the county courthouse. Change has been slow at local jails where people continue to die while inside of sheriff's custody. As Kitty Alvarado reports, the latest demonstration comes just days after the latest death.
Social justice advocates stood shoulder to shoulder in front of the state courthouse to demand justice inside San Diego County jails.
Here I am going through the same thing that my mother went through.
Gina Burns with Moms Against Torture says her brother died inside a jail.
It's a miracle my son is still alive.
And now she's afraid her son will too.
Who holds them accountable for all these deaths? Enough is enough. No more deaths. No more deaths! No more deaths!
Speaker after speaker came forward to share stories of people they know who lost loved ones behind bars or stories of abuse they suffered personally, like Arameek Glass Blake, who says she's been incarcerated during protests.
Multiple times during my arrest, not only was I brutalized, but once I got into the jail, they allowed me to throw up on myself. They separated me from other folks.
She says she was lucky someone recognized her for her work with government agencies, but still was not given medical care despite being sick with undiagnosed cancer.
What happens to the people that do not have connections to make a phone call to tell the truth about what's happening in there? I'm here today to stand with the family members of those who are impacted the most.
Less than a week ago, a 23-year-old man was the 15th person to die in custody this year. An independent report released in April showed that based on population, San Diego County jails had the highest number of people in the state who died without being sentenced.
And I'm hurt, I'm in pain, I'm traumatized, I'm all those things. All those titles fit me today.
Patrick J. Germany says he and all those standing behind him are tired of hearing about the abuse and deaths happening in San Diego County jails. He says everyone must take action.
If you don't wake up, if you don't watch it, it's going to be your loved one next.
The Sheriff's Department sent KPBS a statement saying that every death is a tragedy, and they're sympathetic to the loved ones of those who died in custody and are focused on improvements and strive to make the jail safe.
I will keep fighting till the day I die.
Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
Some of the important work to keep young people from ending up in jail or worse is happening every day in San Diego. KPBS reporter Jacob Baer met some men who are using their lived experiences to mentor those who are at risk.
I do it at least like once a week.
Maclovio Marquez is a personal trainer and coach in downtown San Diego. But just a couple of years ago, he was dealing drugs.
To be a gang member or to be tough or to have this persona of I'm a badass is so widely accepted, and not only widely accepted, it's strongly enforced and encouraged like when it doesn't need to be.
Donovan Dove says he ran into similar scenarios.
We don't have counselors, we counsel ourselves. We drink, we smoke, they put liquor stores everywhere. We out here faded, we are lost, you know what I'm saying? So when we are lost, no guidance, police circling around our neighborhood all day, it's cops and robbers. So it put us in a criminal mindset already.
Marquez and Dove both say an organization called Paving Great Futures helped them turn their lives around. And now, they're mentors for other youth. Armand King co-founded the group, which educates kids and young adults on harsh realities many of them face, from drug abuse and child sex trafficking to homelessness and youth violence. King says the program gives them hope.
It gives them ideas that and thoughts and belief that they can do more than what their circumstances that they grew up in might dictate to them.
Now, King is building on the lessons he learned through Paving Great Futures and as the chair of San Diego Gang Prevention and Intervention Board. His next chapter is a separate for-profit youth mentoring curriculum called Walk With Me Impact.
The only solution that we end up hearing is prison. The only things that we see as a result to the lifestyle is death and incarceration. So this curriculum, we are fully focusing on prevention tactics, prevention methods. How do we stop a kid from ever having to go through these traumatic experiences?
King says Walk With Me Impact is for-profit, so he can pay youth consultants like Kamaraki, who says kids can be attracted to illegal and dangerous work.
You know, pimps always have money, fly clothes, got girls, you know, giving out dollars to the young, to us, you know, and looking out for us and taking care of us. A lot of us don't have fathers, you know, older brothers or anyone that's looking out for us like that.
The program will provide youth with positive role models who look like them and are from similar backgrounds like Marquez.
I know when I was younger and while I was in that lifestyle, and I didn't want to talk to no adults about what I was doing, you know, like, but if I knew you could relate to me and you know what I'm going through, I'll be more willing to not only vent to you, but to engage with you and keep a relationship with you, you know?
The new curriculum includes rap music, a video documentary series, and a choose-your-own-adventure book where readers can make choices based on real-life experiences.
The material in this curriculum will help kids not only recognize what they're surrounded by, recognize these toxic lifestyles, but it'll help them cope with things that they're already dealing with, prepare them for things that may be approaching them.
King says there's a dire need for this new curriculum, as he's lost too many loved ones over the past couple of years.
And after death, after death, after death, it's like being at war in Afghanistan, and it seems like nobody cares, and wonder why you can't behave well at school, wondering why you're not participating in society.
King says the Walk With Me Impact curriculum is being reviewed by 2 professors at Point Loma Nazarene and San Diego State University. A Kickstarter campaign to raise funds for the initiative starts on August 2nd. Eventually, he hopes to expand the program into schools, juvenile halls, and other settings across the U.S. and Canada. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
Here's some of the most read stories this week from kpbs.org. Earlier, you heard from the victim at the center of the SDSU rape investigation. That's also the focus of this week's KPBS Roundtable podcast. San Diego County elevates its handling of local monkeypox cases by declaring a public health emergency. And students at UC San Diego say they want more of a voice in how the surrounding neighborhood grows in the years ahead. South Bay beaches are dealing with more sewage contamination, but that's not stopping some from going into the water. Melissa May shows us what's being done to try to get people to be more cautious.
Signs next to the Imperial Beach Pier warn people to stay out of the water, but we found people swimming in the ocean anyway. Alexander Bergman is visiting from Austria and said he wasn't worried about swimming in contaminated water.
No, not at all. So I think that should not be that much of an issue.
Bergman and fellow traveler Joanna Valavanoglu say they've been surfing in the contaminated water.
We've been here for a couple of days and no illness has caught us yet, so we're looking forward to the next days as well.
Lifeguards are doing their best to patrol up and down the coast of Imperial Beach and educate those that are choosing to swim in the water the risks of swimming in contaminated water. They have also switched over from these blue signs that say beach water may contain sewage and may cause illness to these bright yellow signs that say sewage contaminated water.
I was just kind of surprised and amazed. We came for vacation here and we're not going in the water.
While local surfers are braving the water they've been surfing for years, some tourists have mixed feelings about the warning signs of sewage contamination.
I took a picture to send to our friends back in Colorado to tell them, came all this way and we're just not going in.
The county's Department of Environmental Health and Quality tests bacteria levels at about 45 beaches every day and posts the status online at sdbeachinfo.com. Melissa May, KPBS News.
It's a big ask. San Diego is in the early stages of trying to get every household to not simply throw away unused food and instead recycle it. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson explains the slow rollout and the science behind composting.
So compost is nutrient-rich.
Renee Robertson runs the city's environmental services department, including the 75-acre greenery site at the Miramar landfill.
It's not soil, it's a soil amendment. It's a nutrient-rich soil amendment. You can see the moisture in it.
This is where green waste, such as grass clippings and shrubbery trimmings, come to get a second life. It's ground up and sequestered under waterproof tarps. Oxygen gets pumped into the piles to speed up the natural composting process.
This is a blower, very small electric engine, and then this is the brain components and the feedback.
It is a process that has been refined over the 2 decades San Diego officials have been working to keep green waste out of the landfill, unlike regular recycling, which relies on shipping trash far away.
What comes to this facility has been generated within 30 miles, and our final product goes right back out within 30 miles. So I think it's really taking everything that we think about from climate action and really flipping it in the right direction where we're doing it locally.
And the operation is about to get a lot bigger. A new state law that took effect in January requires cities to begin collecting food scraps and composting the organic material. That's because decomposing food in landfills creates methane, a significant greenhouse gas that warms the climate. The Miramar landfill already handles commercial food waste from large vendors like Starbucks, SeaWorld, and the Marine Corps Recruit Depot, but the city has a lot of work to do to upgrade its residential collection system.
Where we've gotten a little bit tripped up, of course, is some of the issues.
City Council member Joe LaCava chairs the Environment Committee. He says some city residents who have private waste haulers are already separating their food scraps, but everyone else won't be able to until the city can ramp up its collection capability. It has to pick up green and organic waste from 285,000 customers every week.
That we're going to switch from the current schedule, which calls for recycling and for greens to be picked up every 2 weeks, to include them on the weekly pickup. Now, what that means is we need more trucks and more drivers for those trucks to really update that collection on a more frequent basis.
LaCava says supply chain issues are keeping 43 new trucks from being delivered until early next year. When the trucks arrive, the city will deliver 240,000 green waste containers and 285,000 food scrap buckets to city residents. The pickup schedule needs to happen weekly because food scraps can attract rodents and other vermin.
We really are very motivated for both environmental reasons and regulatory reasons to get this right at the get-go, make sure everybody understands how this will work.
Cal Recycle is phasing in implementation over a 2-year period. If the city fails to get the program up and running, there could be a notice of violation and fines, but the process allows for ample opportunity to correct the violation before daily fines would be issued. Cal Recycle officials say if the entire state removes food scraps from landfills, it will be the equivalent of removing 3 million cars from local roads.
Well, we're all generating food waste right now. That's what I always like to point out. So we're just going to be putting it in a different bin. We're going to be putting it in our green waste bin along with our green waste.
The city's Renee Robertson says changing the city's trash system is a challenge.
This is going to be a large habit change for millions of residents, and we're going to take the time to do it right.
And city residents will have to adjust for this climate-friendly effort to succeed.
We're really set up well to start receiving this material.
This facility handles about 100,000 tons of compostable material in the course of a year. That's going to grow to 250,000 tons by the time this organics recycling program is fully up and running. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Luckily, San Diego has been spared from any major wildfires this summer. Part of that is due to the work to minimize the risk. KPBS reporter Tanya Thorne tells us how a group of hungry goats are getting the job done.
Johnny Gonzalez has been in the goat business for over 20 years. His business is called the Environmental Land Management Company. But
on the card, it says goats for hire because people didn't know what environmental land management did. So I had to get it out there that, yeah, we rent out, or you guys can utilize our goats for fire breaks.
Lately, his goats have been grazing near busy roads, businesses, and underneath power lines.
Yes, these goats are super cute to look at, but they're actually having a more important job here, preventing fires from starting from these power lines and getting to these nearby structures here and across the street and all around.
And it's all part of a new pilot program from SDG&E.
One of the cool things that I've heard people refer to them as is four-legged lawnmowers.
Denise Menard is with SDG&E.
As those four-legged lawnmowers can get up into areas that traditional lawnmowers just can't get into.
Last month, the energy company kicked off a goat grazing pilot program in Oceanside.
One of the last things that we want at SDG&E is for our infrastructure to ever cause a fire. So the cool thing is we're letting the goats kind of go out and do their thing and doing what comes natural to them, and that's to eat the weeds.
The rented goats are taken to high-risk fire areas to clear out dry brush and keep it from growing back for longer periods of time.
That not only do they eat the weeds, but they also eat the seeds. So that's one of the benefits that people don't think about. So a lot of times we have people kind of hanging out and watching the goats do their thing, and they're eating the weeds, but they don't realize that they're also eating the seeds. So by eating the seeds, the weeds just aren't popping back up as quickly as they would if the seeds hadn't gotten eaten by the goats.
Gonzalez says goat grazing for fire abatement isn't new and keeps him busy year-round.
The goat tool, if you will, is just a reintroduction to what abatement used to be like, and reintroducing the goat to get that understory and flash field treatment to that better degree.
But he explains that the work takes some time because weeds aren't the goat's favorite.
They start eating first the invasive plants that they're used to, the Mediterranean, Eurasian, African plants, and then after time, if we need an amount of native plant reduction, we hold them a period of time that they start to actually address it, because in our native plants, they eat last, believe it or not, and most of our fire problems are these weeds and grasses.
Although it takes a little more time, Gonzalez says goats are an organic alternative that aren't just reducing wildfire danger, but carbon emissions too.
It's a lot better than just cutting. You don't have the chaff and the duff laying around. They've literally converted it where you don't even notice it. And for the carbon aspect of it, it's all still on site. It hasn't been transported out. The nutrients are still in the soil, so the native plants, if they are to occur, have what they need. and there is no seeds. The goats remove like 99% of the seeds.
Gonzalez says once the goats are done, the land is in better shape to suppress a fire.
We want the trees and the landscape to be the fire break. This is allowing the land to be the suppression. And if it reaches this area, it'll be quenched out. If it falls into this area, it does not have a starting ignition point.
Safety concerns are sometimes raised by residents who spot them in suburban areas. But Gonzalez assures the goats don't mind this element.
These goats have been born and raised in this type of environment in these suburbs, so they're used to helicopters and sirens and police cars coming in, people screaming and other dogs barking. If we were to take the country goat here, they wouldn't be comfortable at all.
SDG&E has used Gonzalez's goats in Oceanside and Chula Vista to clear brush near power lines. The next site will be in Escondido. Upon completion, SDG&E will determine whether the pilot program is adopted and continues. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
It's about that time when college students are getting ready for the new school year. The cost of textbooks can be a barrier for some, but as MG Perez reports, local community colleges are getting some help.
1, 2, and 3.
It's a picture-perfect moment with a ceremonial check of $975,000 in federal funding.
We know what our communities need.
San Diego Congressman Scott Peters delivered the news and the money that will be used to provide some low-cost and, more significantly, plenty of no-cost textbooks to 60,000 community students in his 52nd district. That includes Miramar College and City and Mesa colleges, too.
Few things infuriate students as much as the high cost of textbooks and other educational materials.
It's not that hardcover textbooks are going away. Workers here at the Miramar College bookstore are still stocking shelves. It's that the U.S. Congress has provided money in the 2022 fiscal budget to fund community projects helping people who need it most. That includes students like Emily Smith, who was on a Miramar College task force that worked to get the congressman's attention and the grant money.
When you have zero-cost textbooks in a classroom, it just makes that accessibility to education just so much more affordable, and you can go back to college easier. You can continue in college easier, and then you can graduate easier.
Investments like the one we celebrate today help provide a better trained workforce for San Diego's future. And I have to point out that that's extremely important in this time of higher inflation, because one of the drivers of the inflation is the fact that we can't get people to fill these jobs.
Students will be back on campus in a couple of weeks. Right now, many of them are still trying to figure out their finances for the fall semester. What we know is that on average, they will pay up to $1,200 for textbooks alone. That's more than their tuition. The federal grant will pay to create hundreds more classes that use free textbooks and online resources. The San Diego Community College District estimates that students on the 3 campuses in the 52nd District will save $3 million combined in the next school year. MG Perez, KPBS News.
If the Padres win their first World Series in October, this might be remembered as the week that changed everything. That's because one of the best young players in the game is now in San Diego.
It's gonna be really exciting. It's gonna be really tough to go through, and I wish good luck to the other pitch.
Our very first look in San Diego at Juan Soto in a Padres uniform.
Check that out. Petco Park was electric on Wednesday night for the debut of Juan Soto. The 23-year-old is already a World Series champion. That was from his time with the Washington Nationals. He was part of a rally in the first inning that sent fans into a frenzy. The Padres have a big series coming up this weekend in Los Angeles against the Dodgers, and they lead the NL West. And by the way, Fernando Tatis Jr., he's expected to make his season debut in the coming days. The Padres are expected to sell a lot of those Juan Soto merchandise, those jerseys, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Melissa May visited the gas lamp where bars and restaurants are expecting to cash in too.
I just hear it's 75 and sunny every day, so I just got to get to know a little bit more about the city and see how it goes.
Soto found out he was officially a Padre Tuesday afternoon and is slated to play in tonight's game against the Colorado Rockies.
It's a great feeling. It's a new vibe. It's a new start for me. This year, it's just a new start, a new feeling to go out there and give more that I have.
Soto rips one high in the air.
Padres president of baseball operations and GM A.J. Preller told a story about Soto training during the 2019 offseason at Point Loma Nazarene University and his constant pursuit of being the best that really resonated with him and his staff.
If we get a chance to ever acquire somebody like Juan, that's the type of guy we want in the middle of our lineup and leading our organizations.
Soto will not only influence how other teams pitch to the Padres, but he can also have an influence on the downtown economy as well.
I think it's great for the whole city just to increase profits for all the businesses around here. I feel like in the summertime, this is kind of the life of the city. We're a baseball city, and it's nice to see all the fans come down and support all the businesses and just be a part of it.
Anna DeCipio is the bar manager at Blind Burro and knows business is better during a Padres home game.
Significantly higher on a game day. I mean, there's a line out the door. We sell so much. Non-game day is much more chill. It depends on if there's conventions in town, if there's a concert or what, but if there's nothing going on, pretty quiet. And then a home game day, just totally crazy.
Fernando, a high fly ball to deep left.
DeCipio said that one player can really boost business.
It will be huge. Like when we got to Tatis, we saw a big increase in business. And I think the better the Padres are, the bigger crowds we see here. And I think everyone's really excited to have that all-star here.
According to the San Diego Union Tribune, what was projected to be a crowd around 35,000 for tonight's game is now expected to be a sellout. Melissa May, KPBS News.
We hope you enjoyed this look at KPBS News this week. I'm Matt Hoffman. Thanks so much for joining us.